Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us today and making TeacherCast your home for professional development. This is TeacherCast Podcast, episode number 193. Today, we're talking all about reading and how to get your kids on task this coming school year. I have two amazing guests, one from Minnesota, one from San Antonio, and today we're going to be helping you find the best tools for your classroom. But before I get to that, I want to ask you guys a couple of questions. Number one, are you guys enjoying all the great stuff that's happening over on TeacherCast? We just opened up a brand new podcasting channel called podcastingwithstudents.com. Many teachers over the last couple of years have been asking, all right, how do I bring this whole podcasting thing into my classroom? We have a great answer for you. Podcastingwithstudents.com not only gives you some great curricular activities, but also helps you find the best equipment, apps, and really, it gives you an entire thing that you can do in your classroom. If you're looking to bring some podcasts and audio and video into your classroom, check out Podcasting with Students today. Now, I have another question for you guys. Is there a great application out there that helps teach your students a little bit about reading and literacy? I have the perfect solution for you today. I'm going to be talking to the co-founder of a great company called Edji. It is a free online reading platform that lets teachers easily deliver any content to their students for live annotation. I want to bring on today the co-founder of Edji, Mr. Will Stewart. Will, how are you today? Welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me on, Jeff.
Thank you so much for being here. It is great to have you. The reason why I wanted to have you on the show is not only are you the co-founder behind this amazing new application, but you're also a teacher, aren't you?
Yeah, yes, I am. I'm almost in my 10th year of teaching. Currently, I'm teaching 5th grade language arts and social studies here in Minnesota. But I've been fortunate to get to teach in suburban, urban, rural districts at all different levels. So.
Now,
very lucky.
I got to tell you, as a technology coach and especially as the father of 5-year-old triplets now, reading is at the forefront of everything I do. When I work with my teachers at school, we're talking about how to get them to that next reading level. And of course, at home, well, we're just trying to get them to read anything. You have a great solution for this. Talk to us a little bit about Edji.
Yeah, so Edji is an annotation and discussion tool. But what really sets it apart from other annotation and discussion tools is that it allows the teacher or a student to move from modeling a skill to individual practice onto a group discussion seamlessly. There isn't a whole lot of, changing the sharing settings or having them log in and log out. You can simply move straight through that. So I can teach them how to find the main idea in a text, give them an opportunity to show me that they know how to find main idea on their own. And then with just the click of a button, boom, we're discussing as a group what the text was about. And it's real time. The students don't have to hit a submit button. As soon as they are annotating the text, I can see what they're doing and I can provide support, or I can say, hey, class, take a look at what Sophie is doing. She is really doing a great job of identifying the causes of the American Revolution.
I love the story of a teacher that has a dream and a vision and then makes it a reality. I'm assuming that Edji was created to help your own students at one point in time. Tell us a little bit about the genesis of how Edji came to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the time that the idea for Edji came, I was teaching in a general education classroom. 70% of my students were English language learners. And that presented a real challenge for getting my students to talk out loud about the text they had read. They had amazing ideas. They just weren't quite confident enough to share them out loud. So I heard that Flipgrid, the Flipgrid, was holding a kind of an ed tech hackathon. And so I went there with this idea to annotate text. And I pitched it as annotating text with emoji. But what I really wanted to do was to build something that allowed students to share their ideas quickly, and that we weren't going to waste a lot of time having to upload, download, and resubmit PDFs, that it would happen quickly and instantly, and that I could spend my time working on literacy skills instead of managing PDF files. And that's how Edji started. And since that time, we've continued to look at what is best practice in literacy and in other content areas and those 4 C's. And every decision we've made since then has gone into building Edji.
So let's take a look at some of the things that we can do in the classroom with Edji. I want to bring on a teacher, Miss Lacy Greco. Lacy, how are you today? Welcome to the show.
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am currently in my 11th year of teaching. I have been teaching in Northside ISD in San Antonio, Texas. I teach fourth grade. That's where I've spent 8 of my years now. And I did teach first and third for a few years, but um, pretty much lifer in fourth grade now.
Well, let's kind of start at the beginning here because every elementary teacher teaches language arts of some kind. Why is it important to you, Lacy, that a tool like Edji is available for you?
Well, because I think just like Will was saying, I mean, this is a tool where they can get on and, really watch what each other, is saying, what they're thinking. You can also turn that off, which I love as a teacher, because sometimes you want them to put that thought in. Those kids that aren't normally sharing out, if you were just having a class discussion, are able to put their thoughts on there without anyone seeing them if you didn't want them to. And so just kind of that live document going on that I can look at everything. I can address that immediate feedback that you're looking for as a teacher. You're not having to like be a mind reader. I'm watching it all come up, and I can immediately see sections of a text that no one's touching, which means that that's an area they're not understanding. And then areas of text that they're all clicking on. You're watching those colors change and watching all those little bubbles pop up with their initials, and know that this is a piece of the text that they're really connecting to or understanding, and you're able to see those connections with the kids. So that's something that makes this tool different than anything else I use.
So let's talk a little bit about how this works here, right? Because, many teachers are looking for a way to help their students out with their reading. Will, what does a teacher need to do to use Edji?
Yeah, well, and I think the beauty of Edji is it's really only what the teacher has to do to get started. Students don't need an account to use Edji. Teachers do. And to do that, they go to edji.it, that's edj.it, and they sign up for an account. Once they have set up an account, they need some content, whether that's text, images, PDFs, GIFs, their choice. They put that into a reading. Once they have it just the way they want to, they click share reading, and pop, they will have a 4-digit code that they share with their students. And all the students need to do is go to edji.it, type in that 4-character code, and they will be in the reading.
So because the students don't need to have an account, teachers and school districts are rest assured that everything is both COPA, FERPA compliant. Everything is safe for students to use this.
Yeah, absolutely. We are FERPA and COPA.
And so talk to us a little bit, Lacy, about how easy this is to use. I mean, of course, from what Will is saying, you go in there, you put your reading down, and because you're giving the students a code, all they have to do is just access that code, and they are off and running. I know you said that you're using fourth grade. How easy is this to set up, to use, to create? What is the process like from start to finish here?
Super easy, just like he said. I literally, when I go in to create a reading, I know that what picture or whatever, already have that. You just literally upload it. If it's a poem, I literally just copy and paste the text directly in there. And the second that I type, they have a little instruction bar I can type in, tell them what I want them to do. And then once I share it and it gives me that code, that's it. So I just tell my students, they go into edji.it and they type the code in, and it's ready to go.
So, Will, the neat thing I like about Edji is that it is cross-platform. Whether you're on a mobile device, on a Chromebook, on a laptop, any teacher can use this platform.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our core values is accessibility. It's really important to us that students be able to use Edji regardless of their circumstances. So yeah, it'll work on any device that's connected to the internet. Even a $40 Kindle Fire can run Edji just fine. And on top of that, it can also be used with any language. So we've seen people upload, almost any language you can think of into Edji and share it on the Discover feed.
That's pretty awesome. Now, Lacy, what are your students finding about this? Are they enjoying this? Are you finding that this is actually helping their reading skills?
Yes, I think that with Edgy, I'm able to see, like I was saying, more from certain kids that I probably wouldn't see in a class discussion or even just doing, your literature circles and things like that, the more reluctant kids. And so you're really able to see a lot more in their responses that otherwise I may not. And the kids enjoy it. I mean, it's easy. So that's one selling point with a kid, and they like that I can turn that vision off. Some of them enjoy that they can't see everybody's not seeing what they're doing, but they also enjoy when I'm like, we're not going to have it on and you're all going to see what's going on, and then they love to see the colors change because I have it on my screen, and everything's changing, and so they're all just watching all, because the more sections you click on, or the more popular that section, the color will change in that section of text. And so they're watching that document, really come alive, and with all the interactions from the kids. So they enjoy that. And of course, they love that you can put emojis.
The application is called Edji, E-D-J-I, and of course the website is edji.it, edji.it. Will, the question on everybody's mind here is, how do you get this, right? Is there a cost to this? Is this something that a teacher subscribes to, or is it a district level purchase? How does a teacher get hooked up into the Edji system?
Yeah, so Edgy's free to get started with. Teacher can sign up, and with the free version, they're going to have access to several of our most powerful tools, but they'll be limited to only 2 readings. So that means that they'll only be able to share 2 texts or 2 images, or whatever you want to call it, with their students. But they'll be able to access the Fire feed, which allows them to see kind of chronologically what students are doing in the text. They'll be able to use heat vision, which, Lacy was talking about, the ability to see which parts of the text are being annotated most often, or ones that aren't being annotated at all. But what they won't be able to do is, for example, they won't be able to see the individual student view. With the paid version, you're going to be able to see individual students. You'll also be able to get a reading recap, which is essentially like a miniature report card on what the student has done in the text. It's a complete summary of what they've annotated, what they've said about it, how many different types of comments they made, how long they spent reading, things like that. So those advanced features come with what we call the Hero version, and that's $65 for a year. And that covers a single teacher and as many students, as many classes, as many sections as they have. That's a question we get a lot is, how many students does this cover? Well, it's but for the teacher, as many students as they have, as many classes as they teach, that $65 covers all of it.
And I like that feature of no matter how many students you have, because some teachers have 25 kids and some teachers have 45 kids. You guys have it access for every single teacher out there. That's pretty amazing. And I love the fact that you guys have a year plan for that. That's pretty cool. What are you finding from teachers? Like what kind of feedback are you guys getting?
The thing that's probably the most exciting to hear is I'm a big research nerd. I love reading, any book that comes out related to education research. So it's always fun when people, say, oh my gosh, this totally reminds me of what I read in this book. So we hear things like Edgy makes learning visible, or it makes what my students are doing visible. Things like that. We hear that it gets students excited, engaged, that they're talking more about what they have read, and that they're really diving into discussions with one another. So those are some of the things that we hear back, which is great because that's what we're building Edgy to do.
And where do you see Edgy come next year, come the next couple of years? What are some of the things that you're looking to do with Edgy in the future?
Yeah. I mean, our guiding principle always comes down to what we think best practice is in education. And when I say we, I basically mean what we have learned from experts that we have talked to and from our own research. So, thinking towards the future, students love being able to annotate text. We know from looking at their cell phones and pop culture that there are lots of other ways of interacting with ideas, whether that's being able to comment with GIFs or being able to comment with images that they create themselves. But we're also looking at ways that teachers use data and insights, and ways that we can provide them more powerful insight into their student reading. So for example, what parts of the text are physically on their screen, for example.
You know, as a tech coach, I have a chance to work with teachers of all grade levels, and they all kind of have this idea that when it comes to digital learning, digital instruction, some of them feel like they're alone in this world, but that's just not the case. If you guys are over on Twitter or Facebook, well, talk to us a little bit about the community that you guys are building, because you guys can go over to twitter.com/edgynotes and join in and learn more, not only about how to use Edgy, but really how to work with your students on this valuable subject.
Yeah, so I'm more or less the social media manager at Edgy. And what I have found most useful with other ed tech tools is when people just tweet out how they are using it and what the results have been from using it. So a lot of times what I'll end up doing is either tweeting out ways that I have used it or tweeting out ways that people have shared with me to use Edgy to enhance activities that you're probably already doing in your class, right? I mean, you're probably already reading text in your classroom. There's a good chance you're probably asking your students to discuss it. Probably a decent chance that you're asking your students to highlight it. So if there are ways that Edgy can make that simpler, faster, and more powerful, we're going to tweet those out. And sometimes we will simply take a screenshot of a reading and, you know, we'll scrub out the personally identifiable information, of course, but we'll tweet that out just to say, like, here is, you know, what can you learn from this image of a reading? What if this was your class? What takeaway can you get from that?
Lacy, what advice do you have for teachers who might be listening today and saying, is this the right tool for me?
Well, it's absolutely the right tool. I mean, there's tons of tools out there. I talk a lot about this on my Twitter, just about the use of different tools and not necessarily getting stuck on one tool for everything. Sometimes teachers are always looking for that one thing that's all they use for everything. But for me, you know, Edgy is a great tool for my class to discuss, collaborate on something. I do all different subject areas with this. I can do pieces of text, poetry, pictures, optic strategies. I have a friend of mine who's a math specialist, and she actually called me today to tell me that they're using it for math. So it's just, to me, all levels. I mean, there was a kinder teacher that jumped on last week from Twitter and made a shapes attributes. And so there's just lots of different things that you can do where the kids can comment, and it's amazing. So I definitely would say that it's easy. That's what teachers want. Not having to make a class account is like awesome. My kids don't have to log in, which is for some younger grade levels is like nightmare, right? So anything like that I think that adds to that ease of just pushing it out to the kids and then hopping on and there's no delay is a win.
Well, it certainly seems like Edgy is the perfect tool for your classroom, Lacy. Tell everybody where we can learn more about the great things that you're doing in your classroom, and where can we find you on your social channels?
On Twitter, my handle is at Lacy, Lacy Greco, Greco 3. And I do a weekly video, hashtag Echo Greco, where I push out different ideas. And Edgy's actually one of the topics so far this year. And so I just revisit, like he said, like Will said, I put, you know, any way that I use it, I put it out there for hopefully someone else to see. And because that's where I get my other ideas from, right? So it's like, put it out there and see if other people try it.
Well, if you guys are looking for a great tool this year to help your students learn and expand their reading abilities, check out Edgy. Will, one more time, thank you so much for joining us today on this show. Continued success with everything here over on Edgy. One more time, where can people go to learn more about Edgy and sign up?
Yeah, Edgy, that's edji.it is the place to go and sign up. And if you're absolutely brand new, two different places to visit on the website are going to be the guides, which has some different tutorials and ways to use Edgy. And the second is the Discover feed. If you're looking for a really hands-on example of how to use it, this is examples that other teachers have shared of how they used Edgy with their class. So they're kind of ready to go lessons, so to speak.
And of course, we're going to have links to all of those things. This is TeacherCast Podcast, episode number 193. We hope you'd enjoy this. We hope that you got a moment to subscribe to our show over on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Podcasts. Of course, there's great things that you can do, and find us on Twitter at TeacherCast. Leave us a voice message over at teachercast.net/voicemail and email us at feedback@teachercast.net. We would love to hear from you, and let us know how you guys are enjoying Edji in your classroom. We want to thank our guests one more time for being on the show, and thank you guys for making TeacherCast your home for professional development. And on behalf of everybody here in the TeacherCast Educational Network, my name is Jeff Bradbury, reminding you to keep up the great work in your classroom and continue sharing your passions with your students.